This is Life is a Skit. Welcome to the New Adults Chronicles. Like any side dish, moderation is key. For Tunmise, the side thing is the main thing. And for Naomi, well, having something on the side has always felt second nature. Today, we talk about the realities of side hustle and gigs for young people. Keep listening.
Was it a situation where everyone around you was doing something and you thought, myself, I have to do something now? Or was it more of like a survival instinct of, if I don't do this, hunger go wire me, something like that?
I don't think I have enjoyed programming as much ever since I had to, start working for other people and like start coding for others and stuff. It was definitely more of the latter. It was more of a survival thing. Like, you have to eat somehow, some way. But I mean, I wouldn't say that's a necessarily horrible thing. Like, that's just how the world works. It's not so much Nigeria's fault as it is just growing up.
I don't even know what flavor I do in particular because most of the time it's not one thing per time. So I think around last year I started in Portugal. I'm a graphics designer. I also am an ambassador as well as a distributor for the Toye brand. And you know how sometimes when they ask you this question, I think everything flies away. I don't remember the other thing. But in response to the question, for me, it started out as I grew up in a house where business was a normal thing. My mom is a businesswoman and it just looked okay to me, like, oh, that's kind of the way of us. But as time went on, it was not about me wanting to really learn because I felt like, okay, at some point I'm going to have to be independent. So I started out, I think I started out in this for something like that, selling different things. So business for me, side hustle, like you're putting it now, there's more of an avenue to learn than any other thing because most of the time I find myself doing things that I find interesting or I am interested in.
Me personally, I just see it as when people prescribing you turning stuff into side also, I think is where I have issues with, right? Let me give an example. Did you guys know me? There was a point where I was really into photography, right? And everyone was like, oh, you can make money from this thing. You can turn it into a business and start charging people, take pictures for people. And like then, okay, it made sense. Like getting small money, I don't have to rely money from mom or whatever. But like after a while, I realized that it felt like there was more pressure on that thing for me. I enjoy doing photography. I like taking pictures and everything. But I just feel like the turning of that passion or whatever into a side also kind of sucked out the joy. Like the pressure it added of having to deal with clients, having to deal with people, oh you're taking someone's pictures, you have to make sure it's on point. Like that whole pressure of turning to a side also kind of sucked out the joy. So I don't know. Do you think side hustle is for everyone? And when people tell you you need to do this or you need to have this skill, you need to be doing something on the side, do you think it can really work for everyone?
I think the word side hustle, right? I think we need to more so define it because there are less stressful ways to make money. I think everybody should have something just on the side to generate some money from, whether it's something that you have to sit down and do, like the traditional definition of a side hustle, or it's something that you have created that's just running in the background, something like that. I really don't think anybody should just fully rely on one source of income, regardless of wherever you are, however good you have it.
So what do you think? Because I feel like we need to also consider, like you need to consider the situation you're in before you think of taking on something extra on the side.
I get you. And for me, I think it's more of a perspective thing because at the end of the day, if you're doing something that, you feel like, okay, let's put it like this. If you have a vision of where you're going to, I think it makes a difference. It really does make a difference. So when you're doing certain things, you know that it's to an end. So basically you working with the end in mind. And that's life. Life will have its own pressures. You won't always enjoy what you're doing, even if it's like a hobby turned side hustle in quotes, But if you see it, because I don't really call what I do side hustle, basically. I see it as, um, how do I put this now? An avenue to learn. Yeah. There'll be the pressure. That's school too. There's a lot of pressure in school. That's my life at this point. But I don't know. It's just that you see every stage, every turn as an opportunity to learn something new. So for me, a lot of things in general is really about perspective and how you see it. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to make the hard things less hard, but it makes a difference, basically. So, like you said, sometimes the pressure is always lost, taking out the joy of what you actually enjoy doing. And, they were just sapping that enjoyment that you got from it. But at the end of the day, it's really, I feel, about how, you see these things.
So let me see from your own personal perspective here. What's been the biggest benefit of having something on the side?
Well, for example, while I was at school, like you said, instead of just fully relying on mommy and daddy sending money, that kind of thing, having an extra source of income was very, very beneficial for everything that I did at school, even just survival in Bangkok in general. And even now that I'm outside, now that I would say I'm still in my parents' house, so I wouldn't say I need money as much as I did when I was at school. It's still useful to just have some money just building up somewhere while I either try to get a job or continue working on some projects I'm working on, that kind of thing.
I would say that it's actually learning and gaining value because that helped me to be able to relate in different ways with people in business and professional settings. That helped me with customer relation. That helped me with being able to be accountable because in this you have to be accountable. Right? Not the manager mixed up. Then it has helped me to learn to just really be more tenacious because yes, business can test you. You have to be told, you have to be thinking. If one strategy doesn't work, you have to be thinking, okay, what else can I do to make this work? So it's just really about me. Uh, like I said earlier, it's more for me of learning not just for business and only profit for us. I'm very big on value and what I can learn and how that can be useful in general life, not just in okay, I want to make obviously I want to make money. I mean that's one of the primary things. But yeah. Yeah, it helped me gain a lot of experience I feel with people in my profession and as well in life in general.
Yeah, definitely. Like everyone wants to add also, yeah, definitely learning is is a very good reason to have one, especially while you're at school, because anything can happen when you get out and then you might not, you might just need something like let me say trade, right? It's like a skill that you can use to get back on your feet, that kind of thing. Like anything can really happen while you're at school. And even like me, for example, I mean, what I do full time now is what I was doing on this side while I was at school. You know what I'm saying? I think even for most of us in our departments, just based off how computer science works, right? Is whatever you're learning on the side by yourself that you will end up doing when you leave school, that kind of thing.
Fair enough. But I want to believe it's not been without its downsides as well. Right? It can be sure the benefits are there, but there has to be some things that we probably experienced that were not
Yeah,
so,
certainly.
you know.
I think one particular experience I had was I had exams coming up, and that was the time that I started uni importation. And I think at that particular time, this one was more profit driven than value driven or anything. The value was just like family, that was like basically secondary for me. I just wanted to make profit from that and needed to do certain things that I needed to do at the time. It was very stressful because it was my first time. The whole thing was written in Chinese. I had to start monitoring the goods, making sure that they got there in time. Then I wasn't even very specific. I didn't have a particular niche, so to speak. I didn't have just one thing I was importing. There were so many different things from different manufacturers. There was a whole lot of tracking, and I had exams coming up. I almost fell sick because of the stress. And I was doing this one with my sister, and I saw that she was also very stressed. And the whole period was just a whole lot. So when I mentioned tenacity the other time, it's not like, oh, tenacity is one of those easy things. It was pretty hard balancing that with my academics at the time because it was new territory. It was more strenuous than I imagined, and it almost cost me a lot. Almost. Thankfully, it was just almost. So yeah, it can be really stressful and draining. And the point is sometimes you will not know exactly what to do until you actually first launch into it and try, make a few mistakes and then feel like, oh, this, I'm never supposed to be doing this at all. Sometimes you just have to like launch into it. But that's just one example anyway. But it can be a lot when you don't exactly know or know yet how to balance, everything, especially with more than one side also, so to say.
I think I would say I was fortunate, at least while I was at school, since I studied computer science and what I was doing was programming and software engineering. It kind of related, right? I mean, the things that we would learn in class, like in class, we would learn about databases, and then I would go back to my room and try and connect the database to the back end, like that kind of thing. I would say for me, it just flowed, right? I never really felt like, apart from perhaps time and maybe not sleeping as much and things like that. But as far as like overall stress, I think I would say I had it on the easy end. Even when you're outside, like Samuel said, your side hustle needs to make sense. You don't want to leave your desk job, like let's say you're working as an ML engineer or something. You don't want to leave your desk job to go and take like a photograph, like to go and cover a wedding. You get what I'm saying, and then come back that same afternoon, right? As for like specific issues, right, especially with freelancing in Nigeria, I would say that it's rather daunting, especially when everybody lowkey wants to cheat you, right? Like it's like it's like doing business, but since you're selling yourself, it's a lot more, I don't know how do I put it, it's a lot more potentially scarring, right? Because people want, like, I mean, if you're selling a good and then the person takes the good and then you don't get paid, that kind of thing, right? Like your money has gone, and that's depressing. But like if you're selling your service and you've put in the time and you don't get paid, you get me? Like you sat down for a week, that kind of thing. But yeah, freelance in Nigeria is rather, it's something, sure, it's something, right? Everybody's trying to make money off everybody. Everybody's oh,
You sound traumatized.
I wouldn't say traumatizing, but yeah, I can't lie, yeah. It's pretty tiring.
This whole hustle culture, we have hustle culture in Nigeria. It's everywhere. And we always feel like we have to be doing something. If the main thing is not enough, get something on the side. It could even be more than one, right? We're doing more than one thing at the same time. So I wanted to talk about hustle culture a bit. And do you think we're glorifying side hustles too much? Because I see that, I mean, everyone just, like now, for instance, okay, I'm currently doing something right. It might not be the best in the world, but everybody's recommendation to me is to get multiple remote gigs. The idea does not seem too far fetched, but I just wonder if, like, why the recommendation to getting better pays, like more work. I don't know if this makes any sense. But do you think we're glorifying side hustles a bit too much, or is it just a reflection of the reality that, like, we're living in Nigeria?
No, I think I get what you're saying, right? I think it's pretty interesting, actually. Should you get more work, or should you lock in on, like, should you develop more skills or should you lock in on one skill and then become, the best at it? But yeah, it's pretty interesting. I would say, as with everything, balance is the key, right? But yeah, I wonder why in Nigeria specifically it gets more skills than, oh, this guy's a cracked ML engineer. Instead, it's, oh, try and do UI UX on the side, that kind of thing.
ML engineering and UI UX. That's crazy.
I mean, you were doing UI UX before, now you're doing ML. I'm using you as an example.
uh, let me put it like this. Why do you think so many young Nigerians are juggling multiple gigs or side businesses or whatever right now?
I feel like they are um, juggling these things for different reasons. If you know what you want, there's always a difference. I just feel like that. And it's just that some people are doing this thing because, oh, I want to make like that's really their primary goal. It's not really much of, okay, why am I even here on this earth to begin with? And, what are the steps that I have to take to actually get to the point that I'm going? So a sense of self, a sense of this is where I'm going, this is what I want to be doing. These are things I feel like get me closer to uh, what I believe in, what I feel like I'm supposed to be doing, the impact I feel like I'm supposed to be making on the world. Sometimes it's not even really about the business itself, but more like, okay, what can I even learn from this? And how will it impact my view of things in general and even specific things, as well as probably depending on the situation, the business itself. So they just have a vague knowledge of, I want to make money. They don't have specifics of why. What I want to use money to do. Is it really only about making money or about building me, about building myself? I don't know if you get me. So it's more of a purpose thing on my end, really. It's more of a purpose thing on my end. I just feel like a lot of us are doing this thing because some are doing it because of the fear of poverty. And I can't say I blame them. I don't think we can blame anything because the way the economy is very, very scary. And even at a time like this, even if, okay, I say, oh, it's because of purpose, or it's because I know what I want, there is still a fraction of, I actually don't want to be poor. To be poor in this country it's not easy. It's not easy. And I read something about how that the average family is one major illness on a family member, just one major illness away from poverty. And that's very, 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 very scary. So yes, there's underlying, oh, I can't be poor, please. I think one of the things I'm learning now is that I actually get to choose. There are things that I don't get to choose, yes, but the things I do get to choose, I need to be able to maximize those things and make them work in my favor as much as possible. So really knowing what you want when you're growing, and not just living life haphazardly, or really feel just, okay, let's just see how it goes. There's need for spontaneity, sometimes, but there's also the need for structure with flexibility most of the time. Yeah, I hope you get what
And I think you could even now say that it's more like if you look at maybe the biggest factor into why people maybe have side hustles or take on multiple gigs is the
Yes.
economy, right? And more than anything, at least, is the economy than say maybe pressure from other people are doing this. I also have to do this, right?
Wait, I wouldn't say it's just the economy, right? I can't imagine that somebody is, because I know some people are doing like 4 remote jobs. I can't imagine somebody needs 4 remote jobs, just to survive because of the economy. Right? Keep in mind, these remote jobs might not even be jobs like, originating in Nigeria. They might be from abroad, right? So they might be getting paid even more than the average Nigerian worker. I think people also take on more jobs for maybe they measure success in, like, just purely in terms of
Yeah.
money, or what do you think?
I think that it is changing our view of success, and I think it's something about transitioning through generations. Because at the time it was really about birthing a lot of children so that all of you pack all of it to the farm. But you got plant this, plant that. Basically, and then the source of income was basically, oh, you're feeding from the farm. What we don't have, probably exchange or buy with proceeds made from the farm Then we transitioned, colonization came, then the white collar jobs came, and it was about just go to school, get a good job, graduate, and be making government money. Just going thirsty. That was, what it transitioned to at some point. Then at some point, there was more call for, I don't know how to put it now, say, the creative part of a human being. Like, what can you do? Who are you? I think that's the place we are now. I guess, who are you? Like, at this point, it's almost looking as if you're not packaging yourself, if you don't like have a personal brand in the coming times, you may not be able to like do some certain things. That's there. Then there's also the um AI part. Okay, if you're not really involved in tech, I think you guys are talking about like tech the other time. I'm from the tweet that you tweeted. I understand her. I felt like that certain times to that. What if I'm not even interested in all these tech things? What do you not want to do about it? That feel like this. So I feel like, there's been a transition and it's just always good, like I said, to know where you are and what you want because it will help you find yourself in the whole chaos of everything. So if you know that, okay, this is what I feel like I want to do with my life, and we don't always have it figured out. I mean, like I said, sometimes you have to just try, make mistakes and don't learn from the mistakes. Sometimes you have to learn from the mistakes of others. You must understand that our journeys are peculiar to us. So, yes, it is changing the view of success because on a norm, there is a change in the way that money is made. So there is also going to be a change in the way that we see success. But it now boils down to the individual, it boils down to the person. And because at the end of the day, the individual affects the society as a whole. So definitely, the way we all perceive success is definitely changing. So my point is, where you stand is so very important because if you get lost in the chaos of everything, you could want to try out everything and everything may not work for you. There's some things you could just avoid and just cut yourself the heartache and headache that can come with it. So how do you define success should be a matter of you really like sitting down, getting to know yourself, getting to know the things that you can take, and from there you should be able to get what success means to you because in a bid to do this and do that, you may begin to now have um it's like you're following programs like prescripted things and you're now reactive rather than proactive or active. So it's like it's what you're seeing that you're just following.
So Michelle, do you have something to say?
Despite our horrible economy and everything, I think all over the world, people are more people. Like she said, like we're not at that farm period anymore where it's just you get what you need for yourself and your family and you're good. Like everybody wants to flex, you want to go online, you want what you see online, you want what you see everywhere, that kind of thing. Despite that, I wouldn't say they would need 4 different or 3 different jobs just to survive. They would still be okay on maybe 2, right? So there are different reasons.
But like now you mentioned 4. Like that's not normal to be running 4 jobs.
No, some people actually just sit down at home and then they have like 3 or 4 different remote companies that are working for constantly.
I feel like the way you're saying it makes it sound very normalized.
It sounds normalized.
It's actually becoming normalized if you think about it.
It's I mean, literally, like we know someone that has a remote job right now that's still looking for more now. Like that's just how it is. I think also with the remote work culture also kind of lends to wanting to work more, right? Because you're not at the office 24/7. No, okay, not 24/7. You're not at the office from morning to evening, and you don't get home tired, sleep, and then go again the next day. Because you're only working when you're working, right? You now have so much more free time. So why not get another job? Why not make more money?
But do you think like side hustling is sustainable long term, or is it just a more of a survival now kind of strategy?
I think the benefit of side hustling is the fact that you're getting a secondary source of income. Like that's the main purpose of it, right? And like Naomi said, if it's a hobby and you enjoy it, then sure, why not, make a little money from it, that kind of thing. As for sustainability long term, I would say, what is the alternative? If what I do is what I do. Well, if somebody didn't have a side hustle and they were just working, like your regular desk job, right? And, what is their own sustainability long term, really? Because of the economy, you can't really save, right? Everybody's really living paycheck to paycheck. What is more sustainable than getting a side hustle? I guess, like I said, maybe having a business, that kind of thing.
Or about a good paying job?
Well, yes, definitely. Like having like more money, right? More money would make you not live paycheck to paycheck. But like I said, it's like unfortunately things are not black and white. People get a better job, then they move into a bigger house, they get a better car, they're spending more money, and then the back to square one, lowkey, but with extra steps.
I feel like the sustainability part of it is something that is peculiar or unique to the person or the situation you're in. Because if you're going something in side hustle, it's not supposed to complement what you already have. So if you're seeing it as a side hustle, it might be sustainable in the sense that if you're probably not climbing up the ladder, your demands are not increasing from your primary job, then you should still be able to maintain that one without jeopardizing your health, jeopardizing everything that you're, already doing. But we know that, okay, even if you're doing that, you want to climb up the corporate ladder, you want to get more promotions, and that will mean you're probably trading more of your time for an increased salary, basically, because that's how some people think it to you. So it's just that the sustainability part is just okay. Um, is this something that I just want to just be okay? I just want it to be supplementary, or am I seeing it as something that can go, side by side with what I'm already doing? That may not be the easiest thing, especially if you're doing a 9 to 5. I mean, when I did my what's it called now? Yes, I did for 6 weeks. Hey, this nice vaccine is a lot. That's a lot. I would go to the clinic and eat. Some of the clinics are far from my house because I had to go around different specialties and stuff. So some of them were far from my house. Imagine I have to leave the house around 6:37, get to work by 8, then be treating for a very long time. For you now. The first 2 weeks of that, I sat out for the house to cover my leg. I didn't really what I want to do for the rest of my life. Are you serious? So it's just about okay, do I think that this is worthy enough to, for me to continue this without jeopardizing my health, without jeopardizing my main goals? Because if you want to leave it as a side also, because some things can start as a side also, and then that's where the sustainability part comes in when you feel like, okay, I want to amp this up a little bit. So that will not bring in diversifying your income in such a way that some things can be running without you being present necessarily, without you calling all the shots, where you have things running. I hope you get what I'm trying to say. So like there's a point that you get to. So sometimes people are just trying to push through that point where you're actually able to diversify and then your income is coming and now becomes passive income. Yeah, that's what I'm going to. So if that's the goal, then it can be sustainable. But if that's not the goal and you just intend to, let me just make some extra cash, I don't think that's going to be very, very, very sustainable in itself.
Ideally, everybody would have a business on the side that would be getting them like actual money that they can use and not be living paycheck to paycheck, right? Ideally, you would be at a job less so to survive and more so for, let's say, socialization or building yourself or finding yourself, that kind of thing. But, that's not how the world is.
So I would want us to talk about your own experiences, right, from some of the things you've done, and what would you say you've learned about yourself so far through the side hustles, multiple gigs that you've done?
Okay. So I've learned one thing that I can choose how I want things to go. I've learned that there's a lot of things outside your control, to be honest. There is, but the things in your control are the ones that are worth you focusing more on. That's one thing I've learned. One thing I've learned about myself is that I I think I'm very resilient. I think I can say that. I think I can say that because normally business will test you. How is a normal thing? They're now doing multiple of it. Test upon test. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's something that has showed me that, I can survive under pressure and just remain know which one is for you to stay and learn from or the one is to run away because it's gonna take a life. So I think one experience that I had, like the one I mentioned earlier about, starting learning position and everything was inside me, if I had exams coming up, it just showed me that there are um there are mistakes that sometimes we don't have to know. There are avoidable mistakes. And I think sometimes we do know, but they coconut egg. I've said I don't want to tell you myself that I have coconut egg again. If you're stubborn, sometimes you want to still go ahead and you do it. I think another experience I had was I started baking. I think it's over 4 years, 5, 6 years now. And at the point I had an online bakery and it was a small business at the time. I still tell my sisters still now that if I didn't go to a private school, I feel like I would have it would have been a business that grew so much. You know, I imagine getting my own space and but school happened and all of that. But when I did start it looked like something so little because it was just referrals from friends. It was kind of in my friend group. Then what I was doing when other people now taste it, they're like, "I will make this cook for you," and I'll get calls from people that were outside of my friend group, but like and it started to grow. So I've also learned that don't despise the small beginnings. For real, it can really like grow and really be up there. Another thing I've learned is I still not found the dynamics to balance. I don't know. So what I do try to do is I give whatever I'm doing 100% because trying to share it is hard. But if I want to do this particular thing, I'm bringing in my all to it. And I want to do this particular thing as well. I'm bringing in my free games to it. But like we've been discussing, sometimes these things are not easy when officially they are more than two because you have to juggle so many things and you're just one person. So until we get to the point where you can really diversify and simplify stuff, I feel it's a long haul. But if you are in it and you know why you're in it, like we said also that, some people are in it first, they don't want to be from place. And that's very understandable, but very uh enticing way to live.
Yeah. So if someone wanted to start the side also today, what would be your advice to them?
Okay, so we already established that, these things are peculiar and unique to the individual. But I feel like a general thing would be that one of the things that are so important is to understand like purpose for it. Because that will give you it will streamline a lot of things for you. You will not be doing everything that you see. Oh, they said that you have to be a brand influencer, you run there. Oh, they said that what you have to do now is UI UX, or you run there. So like when you really know, okay, this is what I want to do, this is what I'm into, and you know that okay, this is going to not disrupt my whole life because sometimes we do some things and at the detriment of our health and really health is well. I would advise that first of all you are in line with understanding who you are.
Okay. I guess like apart from because what we've been saying so far has been like rather abstract, but honestly, one of the main things I've learned because I actually started. I've been freelancing since, right? But like, I started actually making money last year, right? I started coding in 2021. Those first 3 years, I was just, like I was making a little money, but it was mostly just learning. But that's when I started making money. I think the first, like, if it sounds simple, but if I could tell like a younger Tunmise, I would tell him, please draft contracts whenever you're doing business because people will try and do whatever they can to get more work out of you, right? Because I don't know, I think Nigeria, because of the stress, it's kind of trains people to be less empathetic, right? So if they can scam you, they will scam you. If they can steal from you, they will steal from you, right? And it's sad to say, but that's just how it is. Unfortunately, I don't think a contract would really protect anybody, right? Because I mean, you might have a contract, cool, but do you have the money to take the person to court? But I mean, at least it's something, right?
Running a business, side hustle, or multiple gigs can be demanding. You will be tested. For Naomi, it proved her resilience. For Tunmise, it taught him the value of his work and why he shouldn't settle for less. There's nothing wrong with having multiple gigs or a side hustle. Just know your reasons and don't jump on everything blindly. Till next time, remember, nobody really wants to keep working. The real goal is passive income. If you found this episode reflective, kindly share it with a friend and leave us a review. You can also join the conversations on Instagram and Twitter at Life is a Skits Pod. Thank you for listening and see you real soon.